I was so hyped for this show initially. How did we get here? Friends, it is time to talk about my review for Secret Invasion, the miniseries. I don't think we're getting a season 2 of this. I don't even know what that would be. I don't even think anyone wants it. I don't even know where to start with this. I guess let's start at the beginning. So I was really excited for Secret Invasion when the trailer first came out. I was actually really hype about it. I was looking forward to watching it. And it started. And when it started, I was also hopeful. The tension, the drama, not being able to tell who's who. I'm thinking back to that first scene with Everett Ross and the man that was paranoid, who was the agent who basically was trying to tell him that Skrulls were everywhere. And the paranoia of that scene and how it made me kind of not sure who was who. And then I was like, oh, but like, is Ross a Skrull? And then we kind of find out, yeah, that's what's going on. And that tension was, I thought, quite good in terms of what I expected from Secret Invasion. I mean, Secret Invasion in the MCU could have been amazing if it was done well. Unfortunately, it wasn't done very well. But the beginning of this show, I think, set up a lot of promising twists and turns and character development. And then it just abandoned everything. So that first scene really was kind of what I was expecting from the entire show. And at first, it kind of seemed like we might be going in that direction. Like, we don't know who all the Skrulls are. We have to figure that out. In the comics with Secret Invasion, there is a huge sense of paranoia once we find out what's really happening and that the Skrulls have basically secretly been infiltrating Earth for years. It becomes everyone that you think you ever knew. Did you ever really know them? Are they a Skrull? When you met them, were they even themselves? We don't know. And I was kind of thinking we'd get more of that. We do get a little bit of that at the end, which I didn't actually talk in my last episode review, but I'm going to talk about it now. With Rhodey, oh, I guess I should say spoiler warning, but if you're watching this recap review of the entire season and you're expecting there to be no spoilers, that's just not going to happen. So, yes, fair spoiler warning. Here we go. At the end of the show, when it's revealed that Rhodey has been a Skrull potentially for a long time, like, he gets pulled out. Ross is there too, because obviously Ross was being impersonated by a Skrull as well. And he can't even, like, walk, which I don't know if that means this is a version of Rhodey that, you know, doesn't, like, he got injured before and this is before he gets his legs repaired by Tony, or if this is just he's been in there that long that he can't walk. But there's huge implications with that. And I wish we just basically got more of that, because I feel like everything else that they did, they built it up and then they just discarded it. One, Maria Hill gets killed in the first episode, which I was kind of fine with as long as that was going somewhere. That didn't really go anywhere. Like, we didn't get any closure for her. She just kind of dies, and then we just kind of, we make Fury feel bad about it, and then we move on. I don't even know if Fury really felt bad about it. I don't even know if Fury really feels anything at this point. It's making me question everything that I think I know about these characters in not a good way. So that was disappointing. The fact that nothing goes anywhere and that Maria Hill, I feel like, was killed off pretty unceremoniously when we consider the entire show. From there, it gets a little bit more interesting. We get this drama that's introduced with Gaia and Talos and their family dynamic, and now that Soren is dead and gone, and this tension between them of Gaia basically leaving the family because she no longer believes in this dream that Fury promised to the Skrulls, this idea that we're going to find another world. And honestly, at first, I was skeptical of this because I thought, well, you know what, Skrulls? It's only been 30 years, and apparently you live for a very long time, as Talos said. So, like, should you really even be that upset? Like, maybe they're working on it, but it's just taking longer than we thought. And at first, I was very much on Fury's side. By the end of the show, I was very much on the Skrulls' side. So we create this dynamic, this family tension. Where does it go? Well, do we ever find out what happens to Soren? No, we do not. We know that she died. It probably had something to do with Gravik, and there's this huge sort of, I guess, secret about it. Gaia doesn't know what happened, it seems. Talos is like, you should ask Gravik what happens, and I'm waiting for this confrontation. For 6 episodes, I was waiting. I was like on the edge of my seat, like, oh, maybe this will be the moment. Maybe this will be the moment when finally Gaia asks. We had Emilia Clarke in this. We got Emilia Clarke, and we squandered her. We did not give her enough to do. And even the moments where her and Talos are in conflict, some of those moments are actually good, but they just don't go anywhere. Like, it's not Emilia Clarke's fault. I don't think it's not Ben Mendelsohn's fault, but it's somebody's fault. I'll tell you that much, because this never goes anywhere. And we also don't even do anything with that story, because at the end, Talos dies, and his whole thing is he's saying to Gaia, you know, my belief is that if we just show the humans, like, we can be helpful and we are good and we show them our true hearts and who we are, they will accept us. It will be hard because we are aliens from another world and we're shapeshifters, so we seem untrustworthy, but if we just show them, then it'll all be good. We don't have to take things by force. That's not necessary, Gaia. And then Talos literally gives his life to protect the President of the United States. And what happens? Nothing. That could have been a whole opportunity for something to happen and them to actually say, yes, these Skrulls, we should welcome them, and for the president to remember what happened and prove to Gaia that her dad was correct and have more motivation for everyone to turn on Gravik. Gravik's story in this also feels so just thrown together. Like, it's really frustrating because Kingsley Ben-Adir actually does a, I think, really great job as Gravik. And in the beginning, I was even like, maybe Gravik is a better leader than Talos. I was actually believing it. And then, for some reason, he, when he's winning, decides to make judgment calls that don't really make a lot of sense. I could justify some of them when I was thinking through. I was like, oh, well, maybe, like, he has a personal score with Fury, so he doesn't want to eliminate Fury or the president because he wants to, like, go one-on-one with him. He wants the harvest, maybe that's what's happening. The harvest in general is just a silly idea. It is ridiculous and makes really no sense. And I know this is comics and this comic science and there's stuff like that, but the idea of drops of blood on a battlefield being harvested so that you could have everybody's powers, what is that? That's ridiculous. Like, so you're telling me if I get a trace amount of Thor's blood, now all of a sudden I can be Thor. What? And I mean, I guess you would need the device to do that, which is what the Skrulls have been working for years to build. And they were able to do it only because they're, you know, technologically advanced as an alien race, I suppose. But what is happening with that? What? Why? What? Why? What? It's just a silly concept. So even if I justify, let's say, what Gravik was doing, and I can make excuses for him and say, oh no, like, you can kind of make it make sense, which I think if you say some weird things like, oh yeah, he wants to have a one-on-one fight with Fury, so he didn't take the shot, and he wants the harvest, so he didn't do that, then sure. But the harvest in general is just ridiculous. But then at the end, even that confrontation where honestly, Kingsley did a great job in convincing me of Gravik's motivations in terms of why he kind of wanted to have this one-on-one with Fury. It does seem very personal, and that's why I could justify some of the weird calls he made sort of midway to near the end of the show as a character. But even then, when he's confronting Fury, he says, you took me on as a soldier and you made me, like, kill people, and the face that I wear is the face of the person that you had me take out. And yeah, maybe he was a bad guy, but he had a whole family. He had all of these things, and he was just a person trying to do his best at the end of the day. He made some bad choices, but that didn't make him a bad person. That was actually, I felt, emotionally compelling. However, it is a little bit reduced by the fact that at the beginning, when we got that flashback into, you know, Gravik being introduced to Fury, and Fury saying, you know, I don't know if you should do this because you're a kid and I just feel like you're too young, and he's basically like, no, I'm good, like, let's do it. That kind of gets cheapened by that exchange. Because, like, Gravik, I understand that you're upset, and I understand that you can say, no, I'm good, and then you have to take a life, and it changes you, and you don't realize what that was like, and now you do, and it's shifted you, it's broken you in some way. But you are literally the one that said, no, let me help you, let me come and eliminate people and do all of these things. So to me, it's a little weird. And the whole conversation that they have is made even cheaper by the fact that Fury isn't even there. That's Gaia impersonating Fury. So, like, there's no emotional weight actually to this conversation. This is the problem. This is ultimately the problem that I have with this show. There was no emotional weight to almost anything because everything we set up never was delivered on. Even Talos and Fury have this conversation where they play the lie game. Tell me something I don't know. And it's really about you saying things, but not really saying the truth. So you're telling lies, and you're trying to tell them in a convincing way, but really what you don't say is the more compelling part. I liked that scene. I thought that was a really cool and really good scene, and it was interesting. One of the things that came up in it is that there's this implication between Fury and Talos, that there's stuff that Fury doesn't know about the Kree-Skrull War. This comes up a few times, even when Gravik is talking to the rest of the council sort of Skrulls that are ruling the world at this point. And he says, you guys should follow me, like, I'm gonna be in charge now, I'm gonna basically be your, like, military leader, and you're gonna follow me. And they all end up, like, bowing to him, except that one woman who basically says, like, I'll never bow to you, and she says, it's crazy that, you know, you've forgotten, like, where we came from and, like, everything that happened. So it implies to me that there's so much more about the Kree-Skrull War that we don't know. And I was thinking it might be that the Skrulls actually started the war. And so this idea of Gravik starting another war, and maybe him being younger, he doesn't really remember everything, is the issue. And his youth maybe could be the thing that comes into people questioning whether or not he's ready for this. Like, maybe he becomes, like, impulsive and we see this other side of him. All of that was kind of set up like that could be a thing, and then we just never went anywhere with it. So yeah, basically this entire show is a bunch of cool setups that never go anywhere. We don't learn what happened to Soren. We don't learn about the Kree-Skrull War. Talos never gets any justice for his own death. We created an awesome character, then killed him for basically no reason. Same with Maria Hill. And yeah, now we have a super Skrull that has all the powers of, like, everyone, which seems insanely powerful, like, way too powerful. Some of the good things we got out of this show, I guess, was Sonya Falsworth, Olivia Colman's character, who I do like. I mean, I do like Emilia Clarke. I just feel like what we're doing with Gaia is silly. And I mean, I like the dynamic between Fury and his wife, Priscilla. But the other issue with that is that at the end of the show, Fury basically says to the president that he doesn't care about Skrulls, and the president's basically like, we're gonna kill off a bunch of them, and Fury's like, don't kill the ones we need, because we need to use them, because we're just using them. Like, he just never cared about the Skrulls at all. So, like, was Captain Marvel even ever looking for a planet? Are we gonna fight Fury in the Marvels? Because he seems like a villain now. I can't justify this. It broke my brain. And I really love Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury, and I'm just wondering what happened with this, and where are we intending to take Fury next in the Marvels? I don't know. It leaves us in a really weird place, and I just feel really disappointed. Like, I feel like I wasted my time, and I am usually the person to be so optimistic about this stuff, and I really do still get excited about a lot of the MCU stuff. That is genuine. I'm not putting that on. That is real. So it was really frustrating to me to see something that, I don't know, had so much promise just in, like, 2 episodes go from being intriguing to just garbage. Like, yeah. Not to say there's completely no merit in the show, because there is still some great acting and there's some great scenes, I think, but because we took such a hard left, a lot of the acting choices that we see in the beginning of the show just don't really make sense and don't really feel like they matter by the end of it for the characters. So, yeah, I guess that's it. Secret Invasion. When you make everyone a Skrull. Not even. Making everyone a Skrull is actually not the problem of the show. Making everyone a human that has no motivation is the problem. Honestly, it was the humans all along, I think, that were the problem. Maybe the Skrulls should have just taken over Earth. Well, friends, that's my thoughts on Secret Invasion, the show. I don't really have anything else to say. Oh, no. That AI opening title, though. But the music was so good. The music was so good. We wasted the music. Here's hoping Loki is better in October. All right. Stay nerdy.